So if you ever need a weekly attendance tracker in Google Sheets, join me today as we build this together, including some overall stats and then simple, easy weekly sections that allow you to quickly and easily select attendance, mark any absences or late appearances, and see those totals immediately. And then you can quickly and easily duplicate these weekly sections by copy, insert new columns, and then simply paste for that new week. All right, so let's start by creating our name column here. So I'm just going to combine these first couple here using this merge, and we'll just say name. And then under here, I'm just going to put a few sample names, and we're just going to use student 1 and so forth. And then I'm just going to go ahead and drag this in instead of actually typing that out. So go ahead and go maybe down to 10. And then I'm going to create some quick stats, overall stats here, and then we're going to create a week section. And so let's start with that stats. And then here we're going to do percent attend, percent late, and percent absent. And then I'm going to combine these, and we're going to make these a little narrower. And then these we're going to merge vertically, wrap them, and then I'm going to change the format on these just a little bit. And then I'm going to change the color on these, maybe something like that. Maybe one more over, depending on what color you like there. And then let's change that font as well. Something like that. And I'm going to change these back to what it was. And down one. There we go. So there's our start. So we're going to fill in some formulas here after a little bit. First of all, let's create our weekly template here. So I'm going to create a little weekly display here of the dates, but we don't have those dates yet. And so let's go ahead and start by putting together our week. And so I'm just going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And you can adjust this if you want a 7-day or a 6-day week. And we're going to go ahead and do a little quick formatting in this. And maybe change it like that as well. And then I'm going to put some dates in here. So I'm going to right click, change this to a date validation, just so we can quickly and easily pick some dates here. So I'm going to pick this prior Monday, and then I'm just going to do equals this plus 1. And I can drag that over. And now we have those days. Now this isn't a super helpful because we aren't wide enough to see that full date. And so if you want to see that full date, you can keep these wider, but I'm going to simplify this. So I'm going to go to my 1, 2, 3. This is the shortcut to the formatting. And I'm going to go to custom date and time. And it probably won't show up like this when you get in here. It'll probably show up something like this maybe, or 2-digit year, maybe I'll have some dashes. And basically you can delete down if you like to get to month, day, if that's what you want to do. Or if you don't see it at all, then you can just type it in and do a / or a dash there, and then the day, and pull that in just like that. And then I'll do a quick little formatting here. And then I'm going to add some checkboxes here. And what we're going to use these for is if you want to ignore a day. Maybe it's a holiday, maybe it's a day off the job or school. And so we'll just use this as a way to ignore attendance for that day. All right, so now we have these dates in here, so we can populate this. So we can do a little bit of ampersands to combine cells and text. And so ampersand, and then maybe we'll just do a dash in here, ampersand, and that final date. And so this would be great, except for it turned our dates into numbers. And I won't go into that right now, but we can turn this into a display, kind of like our formatting. We're going to use this thing called text. And this function allows us to format a number in a certain way. Let's get back in here. And so you can format, as currency or whatever. So we're going to format this as a month and a day. So if we that back in there. You can see now it shows up as November 4th. And then let's do the same thing on the last one. And so that 3 M's gives us that date with the month name there. So if we go down to 2, you can see it goes to 11. If we go to 3, it goes to November. If we go to 4, it actually brings the full month instead of the abbreviation. So we're going to use this one. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a little coloring here. Actually, before that, we're going to repeat these stats here. So I'll go ahead and copy those over. And then I'm just going to change these from percent to number. And if you want that still as a percent, you can obviously calculate that way. We're just going to do that. And then I'm going to change this to a different color here. Maybe this one will change to yellow. Just so you know, this is the one that you would change to change the dates here and for any weeks going forward. All right, so let me go ahead and do a little formatting here as well. And then now that I got those main formatting, I'm going to go through and tweak this a little bit. And then maybe it will bump that up a color as well. So something like this. And you can adjust this as needed and desired for the colors and the formatting that you want. So then what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and group these. So right click, column actions, and group. Notice I'm not selecting the one with our date range because I want this to group underneath it. So now if I hit that minus, it all collapses underneath this week. And then I can expand and so forth. So the reason for this is I'm going to copy and paste this, and then we can do each week inside of that group. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of some extra rows here just so I can do the formatting. So however many rows you need for however many students or employees or whatever that you're working with, you can do that there. And because we're going to copy and paste this, I don't know how many weeks you're going to do, but in case you're going to do a number of them, what I'm going to do is repeat the names in this column here. And so you can just do a equals to that and then just drag this down to the bottom and it'll show up just like that. And then I'm also going to change that color as well and continue on. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of formatting, and then I'll do some formulas here and we'll start pulling this together. Inside this, let's go ahead and do a different border, a little bit lighter maybe, something like that. And let's go ahead and continue. First of all, let's create some drop downs so we can select whatever happened there. And so I selected these, right click and drop down again. I'm not going to do date this time. I'm actually going to use this drop down. And so let's go ahead and use P for present. You can do A for absent and L for late. Now this is kind of funky with these chips, so I'm going to go to advanced options and change this from a chip to an arrow. And that just gives us a little bit of cleaner. We can pick them like that. Now, if you want to, you can also change the size on these as well. Let me just select a couple here. So we could change these to a different font, maybe downsize them if you like as well. So that's up to you. I'm just going to leave it like this. And then let's go ahead and create our formulas for our week. And then we'll come back and create our formulas for the overall performance. And so here what we're going to do is a little formula. We're going to count. Let's go ahead and fill this in here. We're going to count how many present and late there are divided by the total number to give us a percentage. Now, one thing I want to exclude is if one of these was checked, because we want to exclude anything for those days. So let's start by counting our P's and our L's. So we're going to use a simple count if formula, select our range, comma, and then I'm just going to do P inside double quotes. So that gives us 3, 1, 2, 3. So now we're just going to need to count our late. So I'm just going to copy and paste this formula with a plus, and then change this to L. and that gives us 4. So now we just need to put 4 over the 5 for the total. And so we can do this, but we need to wrap this inside parentheses so that this happens first, because the math order, this would come after, and so it would mess up our math. So to get our total, we're going to do a count ifs, and we're going to count 2 things. So first of all, we're going to make sure that this is not blank. We only want to count ones that have been filled in, and that's what this does. This double quotes and these 2 angles. But we want to add one more, and that's going to be as long as these are not checked. And the way you do that is say false. And that will make sure that these are not checked and that these are filled in. Now, I'm going to be dragging this down like this. And so I want to make sure that this one doesn't change. I want the rest of these to change because I want to go row by row. And for student 2, count these. But these checkboxes don't move down. And so here, this, we want to move down, but this one we don't. And so what we can do is add a $sign before the reference we don't want to change. So in this case, the 3. Now I don't want to add it before the F and the J because we're going to be copying this formula across for each week. So I'm just going to do that, and then I can drag this down. Now we still have an error, and this error is because right now we have 0 over 0, and that results in an error. And so we can resolve this by simply doing if error, and if we drag that down, then it's fine. Now the other thing that I want to do is if we don't have a student here, I want to be able to drag this formula all the way down. And currently it doesn't have any errors, so maybe we could leave it. But on this one, let's go ahead and build that one now. So number late. So late is right here. So I can just copy this part of the formula, do equals, and then paste that in. And there's our late. Now the issue here is if I drag this all the way down, we have zeros even though we don't have a student there. And so I could do this across the board, or I could just do it on these. So what I'm going to do here is if, and I'm going to do a $sign, A4 is blank, then we're going to do nothing. Otherwise, we'll do our count. And so what this does in the if statement is if it's true, it'll do this. If it's false, it'll do this. And so as long as it's not blank, then it's going to accomplish this. So some people rather do it the other way around. And if so, you do does not equals, and then you do your true here and your false there. But this is the way I prefer to do it, just to keep things more streamlined in my way of thinking. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this whole thing, double click here, paste that in, and then change that L to an A. And now I can go ahead and do a little formatting here. And then this one is actually a percentage. So change that to percentage there, get rid of those decimal places, and then finish my formatting. So center and center, and then maybe a little background there. And then we can drag that down. Now you can see that these zeros stop as soon as we don't have any more names. And at this point now, as we fill in, those metrics will automatically add up just like that. If we had 2 absences, for example, then it'd be like that. All right, so there's our first part. So let's go ahead and create this stats part. And then we're actually getting close here. So now if we look at this, if I check this, the only thing I want to make sure is that these aren't filled in. So it's not messing with our metrics. The other option we could do is if this may be something you're going to do afterwards, then what you may want to do is add this to these. I'm sorry, this part to these. In this case, we need to change these to count ifs, add a comma, and throw that in there. And the same thing here. So maybe I'll go ahead and do that just for good practice. And then these we could keep the same if we want to or not. And then drag that down. And so now you can see if we check this, then it changes that for us. So let's go ahead and create our attendance over here. So I'm going to take the same one and then come over here. Now, I can pretty much use the same formula, except right now it's only referring to this first week. And my idea is I'm going to be able to copy and paste this for each new week. So one thing I need to change here as well that I did not do the first time is add a $sign before that A. Drag that down, and then let's see how our copy and paste works now. Make sure, there we go, now it's student 1. So with that, having multiple weeks, let's go ahead and just add that for now. I think we have our formatting pretty much in place. And so what I'm going to do here, first of all, is I'm going to make this a reference like these to this prior week. So equals this one plus 1. And then I'm going to actually copy and paste this format. And now what we have here is I can simply copy and paste this as many times as I want, and it's going to keep increasing to that next week. And so let's say we're here, we don't have any more columns available, we're out of columns. So the way I would add a new week is select this week, right click, insert 9 columns, select again, copy and paste, and add a week just like that. All right, so to finish this up, let me go ahead and delete these columns real quick here. Add one, hang one there. All right, so let's go back to our overall stats, and then we'll land the plane on this. I'll actually change that just a little darker there. All right, so on this, we don't want it to count just this first week. We want to count the second and any consequent weeks that we add. And so what we're going to do here then is we're actually just going to delete that end column. And so we can look at just that starting column, and then the rest of it is just going to be looking at that same row. And so I can just do this across the board, just like this. And let's go ahead and change that to percentage again real quick. And if we drag this down, you can see there's our 80 and 60%. So at this point, we're having the exact same results of this. Now, if we change this, let's say this week they did a great job. You can see that now this overall attendance is the average across both weeks. And so that will apply no matter how many weeks you have. So let's go ahead and adjust these things a little bit. And then let's create these other metrics. So percent late is going to be very similar to this one. So I'm just going to copy this one, double click, put that in there. And this time I can get rid of this one. Enter, and we have 20% late. And then absent is going to be the same thing. We're just going to do A instead of the L. And there we go. Not the $sign, the percentage. There we go. And then I can just drag these down and see that just like that. So that's all we need to do to make this work. There's some other things we can do here. For example, we could highlight the current day if we like. And so it's currently 11/11. So if I rewind this a week, if we want to do, and now I notice here that I did +1, which actually only gets me to Saturday. So I need to do +2 +3. So let me go do this real quick, get this updated. And now we're going 4 to 8 and 11 to 15. So on this one, so this is the current day as of the recording. If I want to highlight this, for example, here's what I could do. I can select some of this, do format and conditional formatting. And then I'm just going to remove this, and then do to J, for example, we wanted to. And we can copy and paste this formatting, or I can go to, let's say, S. And then what we're going to do is maybe want to set to green. And then I'm going to go here, go to custom formula, and then I'm going to do equals. And I'm going to do F. And then kind of similar to what we're doing in the formulas, I'm going to do $2 because our date is in that column. And I'm just going to say equals today. And you can see now it is ironed in on that 11/11, which is the today's date as of my recording this. Or you could change it to yellow, for example, or whatever color that you like. So I'm just going to change it to yellow, I guess. And then we'll hit done, and then it's good to go. The other thing potentially if you want to do is maybe highlight this gray grayed out if we check this. And so we can again just format, conditional formatting. And I didn't select anything because I already have a rule here. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this rule. And so the way you do that, scroll down to the bottom, add another rule, and it's going to take the same thing. And so this one we're going to do is instead of equals today, we're going to change this to 3 and change this to true. And now we can change our formatting accordingly. So maybe we want to change it to something like that. And now if we check it, you can see it shows up like that. Now, if you don't want to change the color of the font, you can do like none, for example. And then what that will do then, if you check that, you'll still be able to see that you have stuff selected there. So you can make sure you delete it. And so that's how you would do that. All right, and so to wrap this up, let me show you how to freeze this column. So you can just drag this over. If you notice right here, there's this gray, kind of thicker gray box here on the upper left. And if you hover over it, your cursor should change. In my case, it changes to a hand. And you can drag it over. And then whenever you scroll, that will stay fixed in place. Now, I kind of compensate for that by having the student name here. And so if you don't want to do that, you can leave it there. Another thing you can do here is you can also collapse this section. And again, I'm only selecting these 3, not name as well. And then right click here, go down to view more column actions, group columns, and we can collapse that. And then finally, to reiterate how you would add a new week, let's say you just got done with this week or you want to prep, you can just copy and paste. And we'll do that by first inserting some more columns. So I'm selecting all of them, including this main one, and then insert 9 columns to the right. And then I can select this again and copy, and then I'll just click on here and hit paste. And now we have that new one. And so you might want to do that maybe before you fill it in. And so maybe when you're done with this week, you can go ahead and duplicate this. So that way you have that new one. Otherwise, if you have a bunch of data filled in, all you need to do is really delete these. And so you can select that whole thing, hit delete. And if you happen to have a couple of these checked, you can just select those and hit the space bar twice, and it'll clear out everything there. All right, so that is it for today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe if this video was helpful for you, and check out the other videos on our channel for more tutorials on both Google Sheets and AppScript. And as always, have a great day.